Okay, street talk time, and disclaimer alert, it is now nearly 24 hours later since we recorded the last bit. Had a bit of a culinary disaster last night after recording the beginning bit, which meant dinner plans had to change, and we couldn't record the podcast, could we? Otherwise it would have been very late indeed. It's now Saturday afternoon, and this is also going to have to be a rush one because we're going off to our Eurovision party in a couple of hours' time. So we're going to see what we can do to get through this week. Can't do a cabin or a feedback section today. I don't think there's much news anyway.
Right.
Andy Wymans and Helen Flanagan are out of the jungle, and do you know who won? Have you seen that in the news?
No.
Mylene Class won.
Oh.
I believe. So there we
Good for her.
Yeah, good for her, the little tinkling piano Mylene Class. So anyway, we're just going to do a street talk now and see where it takes us. And that's going to start off with...
Hang on.
What?
Dinner disclaimer disaster.
Yes.
It wasn't me. I dropped it on the floor. I didn't cook it badly.
Oh, no.
I dropped my dinner on the floor.
Gemma, we were having a nice sandwich and it
I
went over the floor. So
I didn't cook badly. I want everyone to know.
Gemma never cooks badly. She's amazing.
I do cook badly, but it wasn't yesterday. Go.
No. Okay, yeah. So I want to start off with the Max storyline. I find this really, really difficult. I love it when this happens, but Coronation Street merged two stories very nicely this week, didn't they? The Max and the Ryan story in unexpected ways. So when I was starting to write the notes for this, I had all the stuff with Daniel and Max in prison in one set of notes, and all the stuff with Daniel and Daisy and Ryan in other sets of notes. So what we're going to do is start off with having a look at the Max sentence stuff like Monday and Wednesday. Then we're going to scroll back and look at the Ryan stuff Monday and Wednesday before kind of just merging them all together on Friday when the crossover happens. So that's going to take up probably a bulk of this discussion. Then we have got Fizz's exit storyline. Lovely Jenny McAlpine popping off on maternity leave, and she's going to get a new job with loads of money. So I've called this storyline, Gemma, Mega Bucks Fizz.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you hadn't heard that one before?
Yeah.
Fresh reaction.
Just to give shout out to the New York Times that doesn't understand British cuisine.
Oh yeah, you
culture.
told me this, didn't you?
Said that Bucks Fizz is a non-alcoholic version of a mimosa.
Untrue.
Wash your mouth out, you bunch of idiots. It's a more alcoholic version.
We've then got the Damon in the sack storyline. Oh, I was toying with the idea of the roll in the hay.
I thought that was good. Roll in the hay, I like that.
Yeah. She's back again. The slag.
Back for seconds.
Explicit consent warning is coming up next, and then we will talk about the Paul and Gemma storylines that kind of merge together as well. I did want to mention the Coronation stuff first, though, because obviously Monday's episode was the Coronation Street. How did you find it? As you know, we both do love the bit of the royal family. I
don't know how EastEnders did it, but I have seen that everybody on EastEnders was very, very, very royal and loving it and celebrating, and they made a very big deal about the coronation on EastEnders. And a lot of people are saying that Coronation Street was a bit more true to life. Well, I think the trouble is everybody's in their own bubble, and you associate with people who are similar to you. So it's difficult. Things like this, I enjoyed the coronation.
Oh yeah, it was great. Loved it.
I'm sad that it's a divisive and controversial subject, but never mind. I think Coronation Street's treatment of it felt perhaps a bit more realistic, because some people didn't care, some people were really into it. They had a party. They
had this conversation with Ryan and Daisy at one point, didn't they? And Ryan clearly very anti-monarchy.
Was he?
Yeah. That was on Monday's episode.
What did he say?
Well, he was just saying, it's a, I don't remember exactly, but he was saying it was a pomp and circumstance for nothing, basically. What's the point in this? And Daisy was saying,
I think he's just sad because his face is burned off.
Possibly. But then, you also had, we had the pub scene, so Jenny had put on a spread, and it felt a little bit, because, just going back a little bit, we said last week that they put some flags up and things, and even having some characters having flags in their homes, I would say that's maybe gone a little overboard compared to what maybe most people would have here, like all week. I'm imagining that come Monday, it's all going to be gone again. But the one in the pub, it felt to me like they got some characters that are like, what should we do? Oh, this will help get their episode counts up. Let's put them in their rovers. Not Evelyn necessarily, because she's always in it, but the Baileys and Debbie and Ronnie, yeah, great.
It's not an amazing insight to say that the older generation's generally slightly more royalist than the younger ones. I'm very interested to know whether, as people get older, if they will retain those ideas or if they become
I wonder.
more traditional. I don't know, but it was funny because you had. I really loved the Baileys doing the Commonwealth.
I know. I couldn't
listing.
do it. I could
think
probably
that's
manage
lovely.
about 3 countries.
And that's why I really enjoyed the we had the Coronation concert, didn't we?
Yes,
Sunday night, and I liked the idea of the Commonwealth. I love the Commonwealth. I want a Commonwealth flag.
I think that the Baileys are quite traditional. I think they're even semi-religious as well, because I'm sure they've talked about going to church and things before. Not that we've ever seen
My friend's parents, one of had one's from Jamaica and one was from Barbados, and they are the most royalist
really?
family. Yeah.
Oh, then maybe that fits for
But I
them
know,
then.
so
Lovely having
It's
Debbie
not-
there.
it's not unusual at all.
Nice little hop hat. And also Mary was there as well, wasn't she, in the Rovers? Have I got that, talking about how Lady Diana winked at one point or something, wasn't it?
And Mother was a fan of Fergie.
Oh yeah, that's right. And they went. Did she go to the first coronation? I can't remember. So it was quite
I
nice.
don't think anyone alive went to the first coronation.
Then they also had the tribute to Dead Queen, didn't they? Which Jenny
Oh,
led.
Jenny tried to do a 2-minute silence for the Queen.
And Dirk got a name check.
I
was
think
really
it
chuffed
was.
with this.
I think it was a name check, but it also was like a plausible deniability name check.
What do you
She's
mean?
like, no, Dirk, no.
Yeah, she's like Dirk.
I don't.
Just Dirk.
I think.
I'm
I
wondering
think
whether
it's a
it
blink
wasn't.
and you miss it.
I'm wondering whether it wasn't in the script. It's
Me
like a
too.
special episode, and I'm wondering whether Sally Ann Matthews was just like, I'm gonna she can
I
tell
think,
us. Did you do
exactly.
it,
Well,
Sal? But that was,
I
and then
support it.
because he's got like a little he had a Union
Plastic,
Jack bowler hat on, didn't he? And he takes it off. I just love how Dirk, who never says anything, was the one that
speaks
was
so much
shushed.
with his silence. Yeah, it was great. It was ironic.
So I was hoping, as I've said before, that the whole episode would be the Coronation episode, but unfortunately Coronation Street does seem to be on this
Juggernaut.
yeah, exactly, and like nothing stops the course of our stories, and everything else had to happen as well, and
Well, I'm glad that they marked it. I think
they had to mark it.
Eurovision and the Coronation, this like week and a half period is just the most ideal, wonderful. I love it so much. I just like waving a flag, and I don't care if it's a.
We'd be waving our flags again at Eurovision.
I don't care if
tonight,
it's a Union Jack, a Commonwealth flag. I don't care if it's an EU flag. I love the EU flag. When we went to go see the Olympics, we watched South Korean archery. We waved the South Korean flag because it was given to me. I'll wave any flag you like.
Okay, so on to the stories then. Do you want to do the Max one or do you want to do the Ryan
Which
one?
would
We
you
usually
prefer?
discuss this before we start recording,
know.
don't we? But we're
I'm
rushing
prepared.
today. You do the Max because
Okay.
the Ryan story's got more to it, I think.
Oh right, okay.
Well, only because it's 3 days worth.
Stuff you then.
I'm just giving your voice a break because I've taught so much already.
You're giving my voice a break because you've talked too much.
Oh yeah, no, that doesn't make sense.
All right. Max
You go.
sentence on Monday. You're just trying to get your more
I'm trying to what?
airtime for yourself.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
fair enough.
yeah.
That's fair enough. It is your podcast. On Monday, Ken tells Daniel that he should report his phone being missing
Yes.
because he needs to face the music, and also it's pretty dangerous, really, isn't it? You're not supposed to I know they all do have phones, but you're not really supposed to. And Daniel says, "Oh, I will if I haven't found it by the end of the day."
Yeah, because he's worried he's going to get in trouble. I don't know how much he would.
I think he would do because he shouldn't have had it.
He shouldn't have had it.
It's like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry that I gave them a knife, but I was cutting
Is it
tomatoes."
kind of a rap on the knuckles kind of telling off, or is it like serious breach of whatever?
Well, if it is a serious breach of whatever, he shouldn't be working there, should he?
But as Ken said, he is an excellent teacher.
Is he?
Then we get to find out later this
Honestly,
week. Even more
Daniel's-
so, maybe not.
Daniel's vibe all this week was like, "But I'm the cool teacher. Why won't they respect me?"
I think often people might have their phones out in places that they're not supposed to, but I'm guessing maybe at the prison it's
It's
more.
a bit more important not to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dangerous things that you can do with a phone. Think about the fact that some of these kids are in there because they've harassed or been violent or abusive to somebody. If they get hold of the phone, they could use it to repeat their crimes.
Yeah, I love how later in the week when as he's telling Daisy about it, Daniel, and she's like, "You did take the SIM card out, didn't you?" And he's like, "Whoops."
Oh no.
It's like, what
You're
is he
such an
like?
idiot. Okay, so he goes to class on Monday for some reason, even though it's a bank holiday, but there's no bank holidays in prison.
Very true.
And
Banks are open all year round.
prisons are.
Yeah, prison banks.
Prison banks. right. So Max gives him his phone back sneakily so that he doesn't realise, and Daniel just like brilliant takes it home, and then he finds a video from Max apologising. I thought, can I just say, like, I know that youngsters like to do this, and Daniel and Daisy seem like the sort. How many nudes of Daisy were on that phone?
Very good point.
I'm betting there were a few pictures.
Saucy snaps.
I bet there were
some
some saucy Daisy snaps on there, but obviously Max was he's too sensitive and apologetic, isn't he? He does a video of himself. Sorry for that, everybody.
No, you said probably very valid point.
Do you not think there must be loads? Anyway, so Max apologises.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to
I know,
back and think about
everybody's
that
thinking about those now. So Max is apologising because he's not really stretching his mental faculties in class, and he's not doing all the work that Daniel's making him, and he's saying, look, of course I'm not going to. I can't be seen to be the SWAT. I've got to join in with everybody else. And so as he's watching this, Daniel gets interrupted by Ken coming in. He's like, oh, look at this video. So he goes to the pub to watch it in private, of course.
No headphones or anything.
No, he doesn't put his headphones in. He watches the full video from Max, who's talking about how tense it is, shouting, screaming, fighting, how much he regrets what he did, how much he's feeling as though he deserves all this punishment. And David comes in and overhears it, obviously, which is the only reason why I guess Daniel didn't have headphones in. Coincidentally.
But he could have just seen Max on
That's
it.
what I said.
And gone, oh, is that Max with
so
a
they
new
watch
haircut?
the video together, and Daniel explains that the situation that's going on with
the phone.
Why the phone has a recording, and David's like, oh, you really are a credit to the teaching profession, aren't you? Why did you have your phone out? And David's like, we must do something. I can't believe Max isn't enjoying being in prison.
I know. It's supposed to be unenjoyable. That's the point.
I'm not sure that I'm really that bothered that Max, the terrorist and white supremacist, is not enjoying himself.
Coronation Street really wants us to feel sorry for Max.
But Daniel and David
come round and like him and think that he's reflected on what he's done and everything
so.
By the time we come. I think that we are supposed to be.
Oh, hang on. No, sorry. He's got a black friend now, so he must be not racist anymore.
That's very true.
So Daniel and David are like, we must do something about this. I can't think that Max is asking me for help, and I can't betray him. It's like,
yeah, he's
not having the worst time of his life. And also, why is this a revelation to David, who when he was in prison was part of a prison riot and nearly got killed? Did he think it was going to be a walk in the park?
I know that was a different type of prison, but David was also in kind of juvie prison, wasn't he, or whatever it's.
I'm just not sympathetic. I'm sorry. Yet you're not supposed to like it. It is really tense. It's supposed to put you off doing crimes again, isn't it?
Yes. It's all about rehabilitation.
Well, it's also about, I think, maybe I'm old fashioned, bit of punishment as well, isn't it? Slightly bit of punishment.
Yeah.
It's a bit of punishment.
Yeah.
Who knows what the rest of them are in there for?
Exactly.
Over a glass of wine at home, Daisy and Daniel are talking about Max and Ryan, and they feel like they don't know what to do, but they feel like they must do something. And Daisy says to Daniel that she thinks that Ryan's becoming too reliant.
Sorry, I should
but he's vulnerable.
This bit of the notes in
the other. This is related to a different story.
Sorry,
but bear that in mind, everybody. Daisy's worried about Ryan. On Wednesday, number one, everyone's having breakfast. Daniel says he's going to have a meeting with a safeguarding lead about Max later on, and the safeguarding guy's like, "What? He's in prison, and he doesn't like it."
Yeah, he's looking
That's
for
normal.
any evidence that Max's
normal.
mental health is, particularly.
Well, yeah, he's like,
worse.
"Well, what's your evidence? Why do you think that?" And Daniel's like, I just get a hunch. So Daniel
This was really sad.
and David meet up.
He shaved his head. That's what you do when you kind of like.
Well, look what Joan of Arc did.
Quite.
Exactly. He's basically the Weatherfield answer to Joan of Arc. so David and Daniel meet up, and Daniel's like, "I'm really sorry, we can't do anything to help him." And David says, "Show him the video." And I'm thinking to myself, in the video, he didn't say anything particularly apart from, "It's a bit tense in here. People have fights, and you can't just say what you want." Yeah. Are you surprised? Is anyone surprised?
I think probably if the safeguarding guy had seen the video, he might have taken action.
Like what though? You put a bunch of criminals together, they're gonna do naughty
give them a
stuff
chocolate
to each
milkshake
other.
or something to cheer them up. I don't know.
I'm sorry, but this is what it's like in prison.
Daniel wants to help Max, but
a bunch of young men. They're all going to be like that, aren't they?
Daniel wants to help Max, but not so much that it might risk putting his job on the line. So he's almost thinking of the kids, but
he's loving his great job
put
working.
Yourself first, don't you, Mr. Osborne? Because he yearns to teach. The teaching profession would be a loss without him. So he's just got to stick it now.
He doesn't like teaching. He likes telling people things, which is different. So Max, David goes to speak to David in the prison. So
David goes to speak to Max.
You've written it's very difficult to read out.
But
you haven't really broken this down.
Daniel's speaking to David for a bit, and then Daniel bogs off, and then Max comes and sits down. I think is what happened. It's been
why is Max sitting down there?
They're not
They're in prison.
It's visiting time anyway. David and Max.
So he's like, I'm fine, and David says, look, they were looking into your case because you could be let out soon, and you might need a tag, but like a leg tag to see what you're up to.
Not like a special graffiti sign to.
They're going to give you your own tag, so you can spray everything with your name on it. It's going to be awesome. But for now, just focus on getting your head down, getting your GCSEs, and if you need to talk to me, you can. I'm here for you. So. Obviously Max doesn't want to, and he also doesn't want to talk to Daniel when he tries to ask him about the video, and he definitely doesn't want David seeing the video and worrying about it, he says. And then a bunch of lads laugh at the fact that Max is talking to Daniel, so he goes off. And
Max is kind of worrying that he's getting a bit of a reputation as a teacher's pet this week, doesn't he? And then he's got his kind of semi-intimidating but not really bunch of classmates there, including I've forgotten his name. Gav, something like that, and a few others that they're kind of bully-ish. But
can I ask a question? In prison, if you're Gav, are you going to be more upset with Max for being a teacher's pet, A, or B, being a white supremacist and making racist videos that get somebody stabbed for the colour of their skin?
I mean,
if I was Gav, I don't think I'd talk to Max.
Yeah, do they know what each other are in for?
They all know what everyone's in for.
Well, I mean, Max.
They find out.
There was a particular race of people that Max was being particularly
well, there
nasty
aren't any
about.
Asian people in there that I've seen. It's just
not that I've seen.
Gav and a few other guys.
Yeah. But they're not Muslim, so they're like,
fine. It's fine. Max doesn't care.
I can't remember where we're at with Max's repentance about what he did, because I know there was a stage where he was like,
I'm sorry, I got caught.
Yeah, because he was saying, well, it's true what Griff was telling me. I
don't understand what Max thinks.
I can't remember whether he's had a change of heart now.
Honestly, are we supposed to think that because Max is trying to get Gav's approval that he's somehow become not racist at all? Or what? I don't know. I'm confused.
I don't know.
So anyway, Daniel is teaching a lesson about 1984, and it's a bit of a tough crowd. And he's trying to ask them questions and what are the main themes?
What are the themes of 1984?
What are the main themes? None of them read it. Half the class, when I was doing my degree in English, didn't read the books. And but
these guys haven't exactly got lots more to get on with, have they? Lying around in their cells,
poking each other in the ribs, and
It also appears that English is the only subject they seem to be doing at school. That was the Friday's episode where they had like 2 or 3 English lessons in the same day. You've got to get the literacy up. That's the key thing they're going to need when they're out of prison. They need to be able to write and analyse classic literature. Don't worry about real life skills or anything. These guys are going straight into, I don't know, what do you even need an English degree for, Gemma?
Yeah. So then one of the students says, "Oh, Max, why are you being so pally-pally with Daniel?" And Max is like, "No, don't know what you mean." So he makes a show then of telling Daniel that he thinks 1984 is boring, and so is this boring lesson. And everyone's like, "Yeah, we hate English. We want to read The Very Hungry Caterpillar."
Yeah, and then they're going, caterpillar. It is that is classic fiction,
George
isn't it?
W. Bush's favourite book, according to him.
Oh yes, I remember that.
So back at home, Daniel's letting off some steam to Ken about the day. Like, these kids They don't want to learn about 1984. They want to read the very... Honestly, if I was... Daniel's such a wet blanket, isn't he? If I was Daniel, I'd say, all right, you want to read The Very Hungry Caterpillar because you're a bunch of babies, you're a bunch of thicko babies. All right, we'll get it out if that's your mental level.
Yeah.
Just make them feel like they want to be challenged. Don't go, oh, no, we can't read The Very Hungry Caterpillar because we don't have a copy of it in the library. What?
Just imagine if in their exam in a couple of weeks' time, The Very Hungry Caterpillar comes up. It's one of the core texts.
It bothered me that Daniel made no attempt to explain to them that they were a bit above The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Like, it was an own goal. They're all sitting there going, we want to read a baby book. We want to read a baby book. I'll be like, okay. Anyway, so Daniel's moaning to Ken about it and says that Max was just trying to show off, but I'm not going to give up on this kid. And Ken says, that's what makes you a great teacher. I
mean, screw all the other kids in the class, according to Daniel.
Daniel's like, the other ones are lost cause.
Favouritism to the neighbours' kids. I maybe feel a little bit guilty for pushing him down the stairs last year.
Pushed him down the stairs, and now I feel bad.
Yeah. But anyway, so
he's not a great teacher. He's mediocre at best.
He is still new, and I'm a little bit. I can't remember where he's up to with his qualification and everything because he was doing his PGCE last year, didn't he? Didn't he like qualify around March, April time maybe last year, which is not when you qualify, but I think so. This is really it. Only he is in his ECT year, which is your newly qualified teacher kind of time. I can't remember what it stands for because it wasn't called that back in my day. He's been thrown into a very he wasn't trained for this type of teaching.
Why is he doing that then? Here's my other thing.
Storyline convenience.
Daniel to me is not the sort of person who can handle challenging behaviour in classrooms. Daniel to me is the sort of person who should be teaching in private schools or doing tutoring for middle class kids.
Yeah.
He can't handle these children. The last time he was, challenged by somebody, he pushed them down the stairs.
He can't
cope with it.
No. I think he likes to think he's a bit of a cool teacher.
He's not. He's just a big square.
Yeah, he really, really is.
And he can't relate to these kids either. He just can't. When he was little, he's like, I dream of going to Oxford or Cambridge. They're like, well, how can I shank someone before breakfast?
Well, he also had a long period of raising himself. And I can't remember, did he go to school in that time? I don't remember what his backstory was. He must have done, mustn't he?
He must have gone to school, otherwise they would have sent somebody else to see what was going on.
But yeah,
he's very much
he was an unusual upbringing.
I can imagine him tucking his chair under the dining room table without ever being asked.
Yeah.
Kind of a child.
Right, so we'll come back to that stuff in a minute, I think, because it does intermingle with the Ryan storyline. So reversing back now in time to Monday, and back to Daniel again. He was our main character this week. I'm going to say Daniel and Daisy, and he's not too happy to hear that she's been visiting Ryan recently, and she's just like, I just feel really sorry for him. Like you said earlier, he's really isolated himself. So he's there alone in Carla and Peter's flat while they're swanned off on holiday somewhere, presumably coming back fairly soon. And Daisy spends the week just going back and forth to his flat to see if he's okay. And then they have a nice little chat, and this
about
is where
the coronation.
Exactly. This is when Ryan's anti-monarchy views come out.
But
anyway, he's left alone on his own
die
later.
On the sofa.
You would.
Joking.
It's perfectly valid to not like the monarchy. It just doesn't align with our particular political viewpoint.
It's unfortunate because it kind of challenges you. An event like that does challenge you to have a think about.
I don't mind whether
most people
like
generally
it or not.
don't care about it, do they?
Yeah. Anyway, Ryan's got this hospital appointment, hasn't he? Because as we find out later in the week, he's got a bit of a gammy arm. And he needs to go up to the clinic to go and get it sorted. And so he goes to the door and he has this over-edited scene where he's like going, oh, panic, oh, I can't go outside.
So at the moment, this doesn't work for me anymore.
It's happening.
And I've been a champion of this kind of editing for a while. But I'm going to say we need to draw a line under it now because Ryan's got this, Amy's got this, Daisy has got this to a certain extent. Summer's had it. It's just too many people all having the same thing. And I think that they were going for a theme. Like, they were hoping that these separate stories would sort of build up on each other and help us to build sympathy. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels they're all too separate from one another. the characters don't know each other, and it just feels like the same story with different circumstances played over and over again.
I don't mind about the range of stories. It's just the editing bits that I don't.
Well,
I
it's
don't
the
like.
same.
Same
This is
with
what it
Paul
means.
as well.
They boil,
We've been 60 years
Yes,
without
that's
having to
the other
have
one.
sound effects when
No,
someone's
it
feeling a bit nervous.
It's because that these are all completely different stories, but they're all boiled down to the same sound effect. So it cheapens their experiences. It's supposed to put you in their footsteps. You know, you feel like you're inhabiting their body and feeling as much as you can how they are reacting to things. But it doesn't. I'm sorry, but it's been done too many times.
I mean,
we even had Alia at the beginning of the year having the same sort of thing. It's been months and months and months of ooh, like.
Tell you what, if they started getting the music in them, although actually they did have a little bit of that, didn't they?
They had cheesy porn music.
Oh, and they had the split screen. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that.
Hated it.
But there was even a scene. I think it was on Friday's episode where was it at the beginning of the episode after the Coronation Street titles have come up. It like zooms. It not zooms in. It like unblurs into Ryan and Daisy sitting at the dining table at number. Why do you need that? The only time I would accept just about the unblurring effect on Coronation Street is if someone's waking up from something and you're looking at it from their point of view. It's like I don't need it, but it's like that's a long, very, very traditional way of showing that kind of thing. But they really, I'm worried the way that it's going. It's unnecessary and it has been effective. Like I remember when and again you didn't watch this, when Sinead was told about her cancer being terminal, they used it then, and because it was a bit novel then, it had a much greater effect on me. But now every time somebody's there in the consultant's office or what have you, I'm like, here we go, it's going to have that sound effect. There it is, and it absolutely lost all impact for me.
It's become like a joke.
Yeah, a little bit. Anyway, so he can't. He has a little bit of a panic. He calls the clinic and says, "Sorry, I can't come. I'll rebook it another time." And he tries to call Daisy, but she doesn't reply. Staring at the door handles again, so he's having proper panic. He manages to get through to Daisy later, and she says, "Oh no, he doesn't." He phones her, and Daisy sees the phone ringing, and tells Daniel, "Look, it's Ryan again. I'm going to ignore it." But Daniel's like, "No, it's fine." So Daisy goes out the back, and then she puts on her crystal persona again with a secret extra phone and starts texting away as Crystal to Ryan. And he's like, he feels that this person can talk to about anything, understands him and everything. There's a distance between them, so he can say whatever he wants. So he's talking about skipping his clinic appointment, and Daisy, as Crystal, is saying, "Look, you need to go to this," and he's like, "Yeah, I'll rebook for tomorrow." And she kind of settles down in this back room of the Rovers so that they can have a chat for a little longer. He even brings up the topic of Daisy. He's like, "Oh, remember Daisy?" And so Daisy's clearly feeling a little bit uncomfortable about this, especially like what's he going to say about me? Is he going to maybe confess some feelings about me? I don't know. He tells Crystal that he wishes she was there, and Daisy texts back, "Me too." And it's kind of around this time still I'm starting to think, is Daisy still actually falling for Ryan or is she not? It's still, to me, a little unclear at the end of the week. Is she harbouring some kind of feelings for him and using
Daisy?
Crystal as a way of...
it's obvious she is.
Yeah.
I think so.
We will see. So she goes
She's like, Daniel's rubbish at teaching 1984.
She goes and visits him in the flesh later, and he lies and says, "Oh yeah, I got my dates wrong. The clinic appointment's actually tomorrow." And she says, "Look, I can come with you if you like." And he's like, "Yeah, cheers, we'll do that." He tells her about messaging Crystal and says it's much easier to talk to someone who doesn't really know you sometimes. And Daisy's still there going, "Oh, it's me." Well, I'm going to admit it any time now, maybe. And he says, "Oh, I do kind of fancy Crystal a little bit still." Really lovely that I've got both you and Crystal on my side.
Oh, if only he knew.
Another storyline, that reminded me, another storyline idea I had for this, because, I mean, Acid Ryan's going to be Acid Ryan for the rest of his life, isn't he? But Crystal Meth? No, Crystal Mess, sorry. It's to sound like Crystal Meth. They're in a real crystal mess. It's not so good, is it?
It's
so,
alright.
Wednesday, Daisy's going to go and see Ryan again. And she and Daniel agree that they're going to go and have a lovely curry at Speed Dial later. Ooh, what a treat that will be. So she goes over to see Ryan. And he now says he's moved his appointment to next week. He's really not feeling very well, and it turns out later that he's got he's getting sepsis, isn't he, because of his arm being so.
Yeah, he's got an infection.
And so he says, "Oh, I'm gonna chill at home today." Daisy puts the kettle on, but he's like, "No, it's fine. I'll be all right on my own. I'm gonna text Crystal later anyway. Things are looking up there. I'm in there with Crystal." So she goes back to the pub, tells Jenny about Ryan being ill, and Jenny's like, "Look, she says Ryan's going to be texting Crystal later." She tells Jenny, and I'm not sure it's a good idea. So on Wednesday's episode, we do start to see a bit more of Daisy trying to put Ryan off Crystal, don't we? Because she knows that this is it's a fantasy. She's deceiving him. He's kind of getting his hopes up about something that can't possibly happen. He needs to be out there interacting with people face to face, she says. And Jenny's like, "Oh, there's no harm in it." Obviously, she doesn't know what's really going on here. She says, "Look, he's going to figure out soon for himself that she's no good for him." So this is when we have that really bizarre scene of Ryan and Crystal texting away. And there was split screen and music. And I couldn't tell whether the music was supposed to be in the background. I'm gonna cut Corey some slack and say
somebody
this music,
was listening to really awful music.
Either Ryan or Daisy was listening to some kind of cheesy music kind of stuff, but
it was bad. It was bad. We didn't need a split screen of them looking at their phone to know what their reactions were, and the fact that they were texting. I hated it so much.
I don't think I minded it as much as you, but
it was cringe. It was the most cringe I've seen in Coronation Street for a long time.
She's kind of talking about she's like saying, "Oh yeah, it's great here on Ibiza, sun, sea and sex," to try and make him think, "Oh, she's she doesn't need me, I'm not her special little guy or anything." And then she says she tells him, "Little secret for you, I'm not really into electronic music." So she's trying all these different methods to try and put him off her. And she's she's thinking, "I really like," and she goes to write pop, doesn't she? And she's like, "No, that's probably I'm not going to put that." Jenny, what music are you into?
What's the most off-putting thing I can think of?
I loved that she asked Jenny this.
And Jenny says?
Well, I love country music.
I
do not believe that Jenny is into country music.
No,
although,
I don't.
Country music's not... I don't mind country music too much.
Lil Nas X?
Who?
I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road.
I don't mind country too much. I never listen to it. Yeah, maybe that's who Jenny's into.
There's actually some really nice country songs. It's just not a genre that we really listen to in this country, I don't think.
Oh no, it's never on, is it?
No.
But I remember when I went on holiday to Florida when I was younger, and we were driving down the roads, the big straight long roads in Florida, and all the radio channels had it was wall-to-wall country music. Yeah. So anyway, Jenny really likes country music, so Crystal texts that she likes country music too, and then that comes back to bite her in the bum later, doesn't it? Because Ryan says, "Oh, I really like country music too."
So I'm surprised, but I'm cool with that. Honestly, I think she underestimates how much a man who thinks he's onto a promise will say he likes anything.
Yeah, well, maybe that is true. Maybe
I'm genuinely thinking to myself that, I mean, I am kind of making fun of Brian a little bit, but he's got no friends. If he's the sort, she's underestimating how much he desperately needs a connection with somebody. And if I was Ryan and I was staring down, decades of isolation and misery, but I had a lifeline to somebody, but they said I like country music, that would also not be a deal breaker to me. I'd be like, fine, all right, tell me some good songs.
I mean, not only does he not have any friends, also, I mean, how long's it been since the acid attack now? 5-6 weeks? Still no sign of Michelle.
Michelle's very sick.
She's had a really, really, really bad operation.
Really bad operation.
And who knows about Dr. Ali? I mean, so his fake brother and actually his fake mum and his real mum, Wendy's.
No one cares.
Like, literally, nobody cares about this guy apart from the characters that conveniently happen to be around, like Debbie. That's one thing I've really enjoyed. Like
Debbie's a loyal
she's just
friend.
His ex-boss.
I know, but they've got a deep connection because they're both criminals.
Robbed a bistro together. I'm loving
her loyalty to him is just so endearing.
It really is, and Debbie's barely featured in the show in the last year.
I mean, if you
And
also,
so it's really nice that she's been involved in this in a small way.
if you think about the fact that Debbie has, you know, she is she's an older woman, but she doesn't have children or a husband. She's got Ronnie, but maybe she feels he's kind of a son.
Yeah, I think he's maybe a bit of a surrogate son to her.
I like that idea.
Yeah, me too. I think it's great.
But again, Ryan's being a bit like Summer, isn't he? He's collecting parents.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so Debbie, speaking of Debbie, she's in the pub later, and she's and Daisy's there talking to her about Crystal and everything, and Debbie's like, "Oh, I don't know whether that sounds healthy." Then Daisy gets a voice message from Ryan, thinking he's messaging Crystal, saying, "Oh, I'm a bit surprised about this country music thing. I'm really into it too."
No, he says, "I'm cool with the fact you're into it."
Yeah, but he also says, "Look, I've made a decision. I'm going to come to Ibiza to see you." And Daisy's looking a little bit worried. I mean, I at the end we'll talk about all the Daisy hatred that there's been this week, but she's certainly kind of setting herself up for him being quite cross with her, especially if he takes a trip to Ibiza and goes and hunts down real Crystal and finds out that she's got no idea what he's talking about. I mean, it's certainly possible that Crystal could even turn up in Weatherfield again. She must know that at some point there's quite a high probability that this is going to come back and bite her in the bum royally. She's a soap character, for heaven's sake. Anyway, Daisy...
Daisy's like, she goes to see him
and says,
Don't go to Ibiza.
Don't go to Ibiza. Don't go to Crystal. She's also a little bit worried because he's there saying he's got a bit of a dodgy tum. But he says, like, I'll do something if it gets worse. So they carry on chatting. And then this is when she says, going to Ibiza would be a big step. And he's like, hang on a minute. How do you know about me going to Ibiza? I've not told you that. Advert break, cliffhanger. And the resolution is, I saw it on your laptop. And so he's like, he buys that. And he says, well, yeah, I really think I'd quite like to go. I need to push myself. I need to get out there. In fact, let's go for a walk. So then they have a really, really lovely couple of scenes where he's there at the Rovers. He kind of steels himself to go in first, doesn't he? Because he's walking down the street. I mean, it was snowing in Weatherfield this week. I remember when we had this batch of snow a couple of months ago, and I thought, this is going to look really weird in May. I didn't realise at the time that it was going to coincide with the Coronation, which has been even funnier. But yeah, there was certainly inclement weather. Although it wasn't too long ago we had a little bit of hail here, I suppose, didn't we? Anyway, so he takes his hood down, walks into the Rovers. Debbie there, absolutely lovely, mega chuffed to see him, gives him a big hug. Jenny there, tears in her eyes.
Jenny was so lovely, she cried.
Yeah,
I love Jenny.
Yeah, I know. And
more Jenny.
Debbie's like really cool with it because she's saying like, oh, how can we talk about it? She's like very open and upfront and like, can we kind of make jokes about your face yet? And I think that's what he needs, people to normalise it, because he doesn't want people staring at him, although as the whole of these scenes kind of show, he is going to have to get used to it. But to have Debbie there, just, she's there for him, whatever the state of his face in, it's something that he's got to live with. So it's quite cool that she's very open about
she's
it,
on
I thought.
his side.
Yeah, exactly.
If I was to pick a couple of champions, I would like to pick Debbie and Sally. Jenny.
Jenny, yeah, for sure. So they have a sit down, and there's a couple of customers giving him looks, and then it kind of skips, and there's a little unnecessary scene, I think, where he has a just-in flashback as Ronnie comes out the loos holding a glass or something. But he gets.
You would though.
Yeah, maybe you would, but with everything else that had happened editing-wise this week,
it didn't.
This was kind of like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's what I was saying, that the odd occasion of it can be impactful, but it shouldn't be part of the normal day-to-day routine of Corrie editing.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, so they leave, Debbie and Ronnie, and Ryan's at the bar talking to Daisy about how it's a little bit better than I've expected. It's like the attack never happened. Everything's gone back to normal, and you know what, I feel really normal now. So then Sarah comes in, and I think that this was really important scene that this happened. I don't know why it had to be Sarah that does it, but she kind of avoids looking at him, doesn't she? She's like, hi Ryan, sorry, and then looks away, and because she doesn't
want to stare.
No.
She's trying to
and
act
that's a
casual.
perfectly natural thing to do. She tries to act casual, and the two ways of acting casual is looking away so you not staring at it, or acting casual like Debbie was earlier and sort of saying, "Hey, there's your face melted," you know. And Sarah, don't blame her at all for this. And I do blame her for other things that she's done this week. But I think that lots of people would do exactly the same thing. And she gets a bit of a Jenny Bradley
really
death
awkward.
stare, doesn't she?
Well,
and then
not that bad.
No, little
it's Daisy that really has a go.
Yeah, Daisy. That she's like, don't you treat him like this?
Don't refuse to look at him. It makes him feel bad.
Yeah.
And then Jenny says, Sarah's trying her best actually, but she'll know better next time, won't you, Sarah?
She did. I mean, Jenny gives a look like, "Oh, you've played that wrong, Sarah," but she does try and rein Daisy in because Daisy's had time to get used to this, and she's really trying to do her best for Ryan.
Daisy saw Ryan. She was freaking out.
Yeah,
I don't know
in the
where
hospital.
she's getting off.
Anyway, Jenny also says to Debbie, "Look, Daisy, sorry, Ryan's just gonna have to get used to people looking at him in different ways." So then Daniel comes into the pub to see Daisy, and he's clearly been a bit miffed because she's been there with Ryan all day. He's getting a little bit jealous, but he tells Ryan it's good to see him out and about, and Ryan out and about, and then Ryan heads off home. End of the day, Daisy's exhausted, says to Daniel, "Look, can we... I'm not in the mood for speed dial. Can we just go home?" Ryan came in, coming in for me for the first time, brought it all back, and Daniel says, "Look, you and Ryan are always going to have a bond over this attack that happened. It's fine."
Yeah, they're
honestly.
sitting in a booth here, and Ryan's left.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah, they're not at home, are they? Here, Daisy says, "Look, I just feel really sorry for Ryan. But to be honest, I'm just counting down the days until I can ditch him." But oh no!
What?
He's come back for his phone and he's overheard the whole thing.
I don't believe this.
Never say anything in that booth or anywhere that you wouldn't be happy to swear in court, because somebody's going to be listening that's going to get mightily annoyed or suspicious by it. So Ryan leaves this pub and he's just like gutted because he thought that he had this special relationship with Daisy. She's been treating him really lovely, but now he thinks that she's just been stringing him along all this time and
there's nothing
just
worse
pitying him.
than feeling like people feel pity for you. I think so. Friday, Daisy and Daniel are talking about what they had discussed previously.
Yeah, she's kind of saying,
breakfast.
"Look, I'm not really trying to ditch him, but I do feel sorry for him." And this is where it's like does she fancy him? Is she just pitying him? Is she now trying to, was she trying to deflect Daniel off the scent of fancying Ryan a little bit?
It's she protesteth too much.
I wonder. I don't need Daisy and Ryan to have a relationship. I'm perfectly happy with Daniel and Daisy together. I think that they're a great couple. Daniel can be a bit of a wet blanket, and Daisy and Ryan are also nice together, but I don't need that relationship.
Can I give a bit of a critique here in general of Coronation Street?
You may.
And it's been going on for a while now. It's not just recently. That they can't just let a dramatic story speak for itself. They have to add all these accoutrements that actually bring interesting and unique scenarios, and they turn them into boring soap tropes. So they take Ryan having an acid attack and they turn it into a love triangle between Daisy, Ryan and Daniel. They take Paul having MND and dealing with a fatal degenerative disorder, and they turn it into he's worried about Gemma and he turns to crime. We could have had a crime story with Paul without having MND. We could have had a love triangle with Ryan, Daisy and Daniel without having the acid attack. They don't need to resort to these very boring...
I don't particularly mind.
I'm sorry, but
sometimes.
I'm gonna say that I feel like they're ignoring human drama created from scenarios that they've constructed in favour of very bog standard soapy nonsense that we could have had without all these extra elements.
I think that if the storyline engages me enough, then it doesn't really bother me, and I am actually liking all of this.
But wouldn't you have preferred to have actually seen just Ryan just struggling with the aftermath of his acid attack?
I think
I
they
would.
feel like there needs to be a story in there sometimes.
But
doesn't there?
that's the story. You don't need to add an extra story. I think that they're creating these really interesting scenarios and then ignoring them in favour of bog standard common stuff we've been watching for the past 60 years.
They've got to have those cliffhangers, haven't they?
Can you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, I don't fully agree
think it's
if it's a story that I'm enjoying.
Why not just have Ryan, Daisy and Daniel love triangle then?
Well, they could.
Well, exactly. Why have the acid attack then?
I totally get what you're saying, but in this particular instance,
you're not the only one who would disagree with me. But I also think there are plenty of people.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Who are also getting a bit fed up with this. It's like what happened with when Sinead died, and it turned into a Daniel's going off and kissing Bethany storyline.
No,
there's enough raw human emotion and drama in these very serious subjects and events that we don't need to go back to the same old well.
Yeah, no,
that's just my big criticism.
That is okay.
And I am getting a bit fed up with these really interesting ideas that Corey keeps coming to us with that then get turned into something very, very mundane, in my opinion.
So Ryan's at home and he's kind of peeling back his arm bandage, isn't he? And fair play. That was a great
bit.
Nice props department. Not props, prosthetics, makeup department. Oh, that reminded me.
Oh my goodness, you didn't watch the video.
Didn't watch the video. So Coronation Street had put a video on their YouTube last night, didn't they? It was like 7, 8, 9 minutes. I can't remember.
We just don't have time.
We don't have time. Well, actually, we did because we had a little lunch before this. And
I'm not watching that while I'm eating my lunch.
Okay, well, we must watch it at some time, but it's a behind the scenes how they cast Ryan Prescott's face and everything, and I don't know anything else what's in it, but yeah, go and check that out and let us know whether it's worth watching. But anyway, he's got a really that was a gross gammy arm, and it's like proper like yellowy white pus and wet and soggy, and it was like
are not one to hear.
That was almost like that's too much for Coronation Street. I'm going to say. It doesn't bother me at all, but I think there might have been some people that if they'd have been eating their dinner while they were watching that,
especially
maybe
if you're having a nice runny egg.
Yeah, or a nice lasagna or something.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, his arm's not looking very
good.
But he covers it up quickly when Daisy comes round with a coffee and a croissant, which, Austrian. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Roy told her.
We had a conversation about... Oh, never mind.
I haven't got time. She notices that Ryan's still looking a bit peaky, and he's like, no, I'm fine. But he's obviously very short with her because of what he overheard last night. And it doesn't take him long to say, well, I was in the pub, I heard you saying that you're just waiting to ditch me. So this is where we're going to merge between storylines here. So Daniel, meanwhile, is at home at number 1 and making the interesting... What?
Does she not say sorry about that?
She does after this scene. Yeah. So, is Daniel a good teacher?
No.
Is this the best thing to do? So he's found a secret heart-to-heart video message from Max on his phone. What am I going to do about it? I know. I'm going to smuggle a phone with a video message of my own to him in. What could possibly go wrong? I'm sure I won't get caught. And to be fair, he doesn't, or he hasn't done yet anyway. But I'm going to say that's not the most sensible move, Daniel, if you want to keep your job. So, his heart's in the right place. And I'm going to say that maybe if you're a new teacher, you might not think of the consequences of all this. And, you're doing it for the kids and everything. And he just wants to connect to Max. But seriously.
Yeah, so he does another secret.
Giving a phone with a secret video on to a child in his class, that is completely overstepping the boundaries of what should be Abby just jumped on my lap and I had no idea she was here. Hello. Really, really overstepping the boundaries of what is appropriate in this situation.
Quite bad also because Max is in there because he was groomed. So Daniel's like, he's really susceptible to being groomed. What if I groom him for good?
Yeah. Anyway, he's just saying,
What
look,
if I groom him into really liking English literature?
he says he's trying to groom him into, you can talk to me if you need to.
It sounds so wrong.
It could be really dodgy.
It really is dodgy.
But anyway, I don't know whether it was supposed to, but it could be.
He's such a dumb idiot.
So back to Daisy. She's explaining to Ryan, oh yeah, well, I didn't mean it. You see, he won't let her. He's heard what he heard. He's not interested in her explanations. He's like, why do you keep coming around if you just want to ditch me? You're trying to raise your conscience about it. And she says, no, look, I care about you. Honestly, we're mates. And he's like, no, we're bloody well not. She says, look, I just didn't want Daniel to be put out because, I'd spent the day with you. And he's like, not interested. You said what you said. You must have meant it. Chucks her out. And then he goes and runs to the loo to throw up.
When I was watching this the first time, I was thinking, is he just like super in love with Daisy and he's sad?
I know, I wondered as well. And reading back on the notes, the clues
dramatic.
had been, the breadcrumbs had been laid there for us. But with all the stuff about, oh, there's something wrong with me, I need to go to the clinic, I'd been kind of avoiding that because in my head it was just, there was nothing really wrong with him. He just needed to go for a checkup, or it was just a way of showing he doesn't want to leave the house. He doesn't want to.
True.
So I didn't actually think that anything would come to this. Yeah. So when he went and was sick in the toilet, I was like, wow,
what's
he's
going on
got
here?
really
He's
intense
really
feelings going on here. But that was again pretty raw.
And also not something you want to watch when you're eating.
No. Back at the prison after...
Obviously Coronation Street thinks everybody's eaten by 8.
Yeah, clearly.
And if not, it's your own problem.
So Daniel gives Max this phone before hurrying him off the room. Now, again, I didn't notice this at the time. I don't know whether I've not been paying attention. Quite possibly. Half the time, at least when I'm watching Coronation Street, my eyes are furiously on my laptop screen. But this is the crystal phone, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't realise this, and I'm sure it was supposed to be completely obvious because it's like, is it like a light lilac-y sort of colour, this phone? It does stand out, but he's now got this phone that Ryan's been texting Crystal with, so he gives it to Max and then says, off you go, out of class, there's something in there for you. Daisy goes back to the pub, tells Jenny about Ryan, and Jenny's like, look, don't worry about it too much. Ryan's probably just gonna chat with Crystal and he'll be fine. And then Debbie comes in and tells Daisy, oh, Daisy, you're such a good sport for looking after Ryan. Good on you, girl. And then Daisy starts to panic because she can't find her crystal phone. And this is a brilliant moment.
She's trying to text him to reassure him.
Yeah, but her phone's not there. And I was like, oh, they're doing this. This is not often, really, in Coronation Street that things like
something
really
piques your interest.
I'm not saying, I'm never interested in Coronation. It's not like that.
No, but it wasn't like a, ooh.
No, this was a, that's really, that's going to be juicy. That's really going to cause a lot of problems. And the way that it played out in the end, I was a little bit let down because by the end of the episode,
it was solved very quickly.
Yeah, Daniel's got his phone back and it's all out in the open. I think that there was a lot more that they could have done with Max having this crystal phone.
Well, he's so manipulative. I'm surprised because Max has proven himself to be manipulative and Machiavellian in the past, but he seems too out of his depth in prison to do much with it. But he could have blackmailed Daniel with this information, and he chose not to.
Yeah, and he could have been a bit of a kingpin with the phone as well.
That he's sort of overcome that and become more morally superior.
I think we are.
Don't buy it for a minute.
But anyway, she's panicking now, and then she rushes off. Ryan, meanwhile, is having a suffering time on the sofa. He's kind of shaking, and lights are off, and he's not looking too good. Daisy gets home and finds Daniel there and says, where's my phone? Have you seen my spare phone? And he's like, oh yeah, I gave it to Max. And unsurprisingly, she calls him an utter idiot for doing this or thereabouts. It's like, that's my other phone. How do you know? Why do you give him a phone, you bloody idiot? You can't do this. And she knows that what he might find on this phone if it's not found. And this is where she says, you did take the SIM card out at least, didn't you? And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Bloody fool, Daniel, honestly. So Ryan calls Crystal, leaves a message saying, oh, I'm not doing so well, I just need a call, please help me. Like, Ryan has got to smell a rat soon, because this has been going on for, 2-3 weeks now, and he has not had a conversation with her, like a voice conversation. It's all been text, hasn't it? And I'd maybe start to be thinking, is she really not that into me? Or what? Don't you think that he should be suspicious that he's not heard her voice throughout all of this?
I'd be starting to get my nose put out of joint if I was him and I'm sending voice messages and trying to ring her and she never picks up and she's only ever wants to text me. I think I'd take that as a fairly clear message that I'm keeping you at a distance and I don't actually want that kind of relationship with you. But then, I think that, to stereotype things that people have told me, not that I've seen, well, I've seen this from you a little bit. Men don't seem to pick up on hints.
You've seen that from me a lot.
But you know what I mean? I think that if there's a glimmer of hope.
And he is feeling very desperate and very isolated.
I want to tell him, a PSA here, that if you're ill, you need to phone an ambulance or your doctor, not a woman who you think is in
Ibiza. She's not going to help you, is she? No.
Not really.
So anyway, over at the prison, this is where we've got a bit more character development of Gav, haven't we?
I'm not keen on Gav. I don't get him.
I wasn't. So on Monday and Wednesday's episode, he and some of the other guys there were just token baddie. No, not even baddies, were they? Bullies, or they're kind of the class clowns, aren't they? Like, I don't care about this. Wasn't Gav the one that was last week talking about going over and bringing 2 birds home or something with him? I can't remember. He's just a bit of a joker, but also a bit of a nasty streak. No, but actually, I think that Friday's episode did quite a good job of making him into more of an interesting character. He reminds me a little bit of Keenan from Keenan and Kel, Saturday Night Live guy, just with his like big wide smile and like chubby cheeks and stuff like that. He's a bit of a comedian.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm getting from him, and so because he's reminding me of him, I'm kind of getting like, so he could be cool vibes.
He just seems like a smiling assassin.
I don't know. See, when they've had this type of character, well, they've had prison friends before, haven't they?
Well, sometimes they turn out quite well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we had Craig in prison with... Oh, sorry, Craig Gazy plays him. Graham, who was in prison with David. We had Paul, also in prison with David. Both turned out to be regular characters.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point.
I'm wondering whether they're
Gav get out?
Floating the boat for Gav to get out and be a regular character on the street. And from what I've seen, I think that he could be, away from the situation where he's in, where it's every man for himself and I'm bullying to keep my head, to be top dog or whatever. I think that out of prison he could be a quite charming, cheeky chappy kind of character. Maybe. I'm sure it probably won't happen, but there's
anyway.
So just putting it out there, just floating that idea. Anyway, so he comes into the into Max's cell and finds him watching the message that Daniel left him, and he snatches it off his phone and it's like, where'd you get this phone from? Meanwhile, Daniel's trying to reassure Daisy that he's going to get this phone back, and she says, look, to be honest, that's not all I'm worried about at the moment. I've just come back from Ryan and he overheard me slagging him off last night, and Daniel says, look, it's alright, look, just give him a bit of space, everything's going to be cool there, Ryan's going to be fine. Cut to Ryan falling unconscious on the sofa. So Max tells Gav, oh, this is Mr. Osborne's phone. He gave it to me so that I can film a journal, which is true. I think Daniel did say something about that, didn't he? Like, Max, you want to express your feelings. I know you can't do it in class, so why don't you send me private messages? The more you talk about this, the more dodgy it seems.
Rather...
Anyway, as Gav's got the phone, this is when Daisy's voice message comes through to as Crystal to Ryan, and they both have a listen to it, and it's like, what's going on here? Max is very confused about what's happening there, but before he can process it, Gav takes the opportunity to do a runner because he wants to use this phone to phone his girlfriend on the outside. So they're running through the prison and then bump into Daniel, takes the phone off of him, and Max tells him about the voicemail, said, look, you better listen to this, there's something really weird on your phone. So English lesson number 2 of the day starts with somebody throwing a rubber at Max, and Max he tries to stand up for himself, doesn't he? He strides over and he slams his hand down on the desk and says, oh, you threw that rubber at me.
Pencil eraser.
Yes, of course. And they say, oh, why don't you just talk to your new BFF, Mr. Osborne, then? But, and this is again what has made me come round to Gav a little bit more. He's the one that comes and diffuses the situation, doesn't he? Because earlier on in the week he was there spoiling for a rumble a bit with Max, and I don't know whether is it because he's kind of starting to like Max more, or is it because Max at this stage he thinks that Max has still got the phone, doesn't he? So he's thinking, can I get something out of this? Can I talk to my girl on the outside? But anyway, for whatever reason it is, he comes and breaks things up. Meanwhile, Daisy's rushing over to Ryan's flat, hammering on the door. Daniel has seemingly told her about this message by this point, and Debbie finds her banging on the door there. Lets himself into the flat. Back to the prison again, and Max is thanking Gav for breaking things up earlier, and Gav's like, well, yeah, you owe me for, you had a phone, and I can use your phone, can't I? I can call my girlfriend. And Max says, oh, sorry, I gave the phone back. And and Gav is surprisingly cool with it. Maybe he's thinking that, for now, maybe he's thinking he's going to be able to get that phone back again sometime. Or maybe he's just a nice guy, don't know.
I don't think
so. Debbie... that
nice.
They're all a bunch of criminals,
What's he in
aren't
for?
they?
What's he in for?
Yeah.
Stealing phones?
Probably. Debbie and Daisy run inside Gary's... Gary what? I don't know where Gary is at the moment. They probably run inside Gary's flat. He's dead. He's been lying dead for 3 months. That explains it all. Debbie and Daisy run into Ryan's flat, find him out cold there. Debbie's phoning the ambulance. And after the break, they're at the hospital. Daniel turns up. And this is when they find out that Ryan's got sepsis. And I don't think, and maybe this was a bit of a missed opportunity for a call out, that Debbie mentions Jack, who lost his leg due to sepsis. That wasn't part of the script, was it?
Could have lost his face.
Kind of should have been.
It's actually his arm, isn't it?
It's his arm, yeah, exactly.
He lost his arm.
Could have lost his arm, could have come off. So anyway, the skin graft is very, very infected, and Daisy's blaming herself. She turns to talk to Daniel about it, and he is not looking happy at all with this mess that she's got herself into, and him into as well. So after hearing about what's going on, Daniel says, this just sounds proper messed up. You're talking to Daniel, you're pretending to be Crystal.
You're talking to Ryan.
Ryan, sorry, thank you. He's like, this feels like you're cheating on me. And I don't blame him for thinking that. I wouldn't like the idea that you were pretending to be someone else, texting somebody else.
Hang on, no. It's pretending to be a woman to text somebody who thinks that they are flirting with you.
Yeah. I think that's perfectly reasonable, Daniel's reaction to this.
Just pretending to be anybody texting someone else is fine. I do that all the time.
She's like, I just thought maybe it'd be better if you didn't know.
You can't falter for honesty on that one.
No.
I mean, yeah, right. So it would be better if I didn't know.
He's very annoyed about this and huffs off. Daisy goes and sits with Debbie and Ryan in the room, and Debbie's like saying, oh, Ryan, here comes Daisy, you're so lucky to have her. So Daisy gets back home later and apologises to Daniel for everything, and he's been looking through these messages and finds that they're actually fairly tame. There's no saucy, sexy talk between them, is there?
She's really, is she? She's just...
Not really, she's just being friendly chat with him.
Yeah.
And he, I think if I was Daniel, I would still... whether there was flirting or not, no. And she's like, look, I promise, babe, this isn't going to be forever. Just until Ryan's stronger, whenever that is. So, and they they make up and they love each other. And...
If anybody's going to get in trouble for sending secret messages, it should be Daniel, because actually it's illegal. What he's doing is, yeah. Daniel heads off to bed at the end of the episode. Daisy gets a ding on the crystal phone, and it's another voice message from Ryan. And what's he say this time?
Oh, all this today has made me realise that I think I'm falling in love with you.
Oh, nuts.
And Daisy's like, I'm just too attractive and alluring. Like, I can't even help it, even when I'm pretending to be something else in word form.
She's like, I guess it must be...
People can't help falling in love with me.
Not just my beautiful face, but my beautiful personality.
Must be.
That attracts all the lads.
So, I want to kind of start straight away by saying, what's your stance on Daisy? Because it feels like a lot of the internet are against her, and I can't believe that I'm in this position. Scroll back 2 years and tell 2021 Michael that I'd be here being a staunch Daisy defender. But yeah, I don't feel the hatred, even though I can see that she's done a really stupid thing.
It's one of these things where I make an exception for characters I like for doing silly things, because I say it weren't them honest, it were the writers what done it. It feels like I forgive her because I feel like it's a silly situation that she wouldn't really do in real life, but it's
See,
done
I
for the
don't.
drama.
I'm not even blaming the writers on this one. And although I fully understand that she shouldn't have done this, I can see that sometimes you get yourself into a situation that you feel you can't get out of, and she's trying to tunnel out of this hole that she's dug herself into is just making it worse. And we've all been there, maybe not in the exact same circumstances here, but
it all started off.
She's trying to do what's best for him and stop him from falling deeper into the pits of despair.
It all started off when Crystal led Ryan up the garden path regarding her thoughts about him and their future and his future as a DJ.
Yeah.
And she was trying to mitigate this disaster that she felt was going to set him back.
Well, it was also Daisy's fault anyway, because she was the one that gets Crystal to go to the hospital, isn't she?
Well, she was trying to fix her mistake, but she was also trying to give him a glimmer of hope when he was in the absolute depths of despair and feeling as though there was no future. And she was trying to give him something, but it's false hope. And now she's in too deep, and what was once, just a promise of a future is now feeling a lot more concrete to Ryan. And so it's going to be even more devastating for him when he realises that it's all a lie.
It is, and I think she realises this.
He could lose both of his friends now. If he discovers that Crystal and Daisy are the same person, he's going to be betrayed, and he will have nobody he can trust. So, I feel sorry for her as much as I do him, because in trying to help him, she has only made it worse. Because she also is, in a way, trying to assuage her conscience by doing something nice for Ryan, because she's trying to empower herself, because it really, it's not her fault, but he's the reason that she's the reason he was splashed with acid, because of her stalker. So she's trying to gain control of a situation where she's been completely disempowered. But, this is a disaster, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that she... it's also worth mentioning that she has been trying to put him off Crystal as well.
Yeah, she tried.
Wednesday's episode was all trying to say, didn't she talk about waxing her toes or something? There's all these things to make...
Trying to be gross.
Yeah, and like country music. So I think when she got herself into this situation, she obviously didn't expect it to snowball the way it has. But again, when you sometimes get yourselves into situations like this, you think, oh, I'll think of a way to get out of it later. But for now, this is what I need to do, and I think this has come back to bite her.
And it's also unfortunate too that Ryan is looking for love in all the wrong places, because it was sort of rebuffed by Alia. Yeah. He's been single for a while and trying to find a girlfriend, and now he feels like he's got a chance with somebody. Yeah. And it's so heartbreaking because it's really unfair on him.
It's really, really heartbreaking, this is. I feel so bad for Ryan, and
he's going to feel like such an idiot. That's the sad thing.
It's going to come out.
He's going to feel stupid. He's going to feel like he should have known, and he's going to feel like, of course nobody would love me because of how I look, and it's going to set him back to an even worse situation than he would have been if she had never got involved.
I dread that happening so much, because I really feel for Ryan that I almost kind of want it to be something that never comes out, but that doesn't happen on soap, does it?
It's Coronation.
It's gonna come out. So yeah, I was also thinking that is this the reaction that Coronation Street thought people would have to Daisy? Did they think that the majority would not take her side, or did they think that we'd feel sorry for her? Because we're now 2-3 weeks away from the British Soap Awards, where Charlie Jordan's up for all these awards, the Acid Story's up for awards and everything. And if they're turning, your leading lady, which is what she is at the moment, into a character that people don't like, is this gonna be bad for her chances? Although, also, to be fair, most of the categories in the BSAs are panel voted, aren't they? And I think that the panel would hopefully be able to overlook what's going on at the moment. I mean, Daisy is such a hugely popular character. I don't think this is going to be more than a blip in her popularity.
This is a bit like, we've had all these discussions about the categories and whether the categories are right or wrong, but should there not just be a category for character rather than actor? And I feel as though people vote for the character and they feel as though they're voting for the actor, and they feel like they know the actor, but they don't really. They just know the character. So I think the BSAs, it'd be nice if they transitioned a bit more into fan voting for your favourite character. And let's lean into this internet culture of you know, shipping and fangirling and fanboying, or whatever you want to call it, over the characters and the relationships and the situations. And let's sort of have a technical jury voted or panel voted for performances.
It's really tricky because they've already got best leading character and best dramatic performance.
No,
and
best leading performer.
Yeah, sorry, best leading performer and best dramatic performance, and there's already a blurring of the lines between them.
Of course
and I think
there
that
is.
having this one would make it even worse. So we're just saying that one would be fan voted and one would be panel voted.
I'm going to say, and I think this is easy to take offence to probably, but I don't mean, I genuinely think that people are more popular. Actors and characters get turned into one big blender mess by most people.
Yeah.
And people get confused about whether they like the actor or the performer better. And there are some excellent performances, some truly, truly fantastic, wonderful, award-worthy performances by actors who are playing characters that aren't that liked. And if we made a bit of a more distinction between somebody like Charlie Jordan, who is hugely talented and also incredibly popular on the internet because of, you know, the demographic she appeals to, which is young girls on online, on Twitter and things, they see themselves in her and they think she's brilliant, and she is brilliant, but there are other people that are overlooked.
Yeah. No,
That's all I'm saying. And I think it's more honest if the vote is for the character rather than the actor.
Yeah, no, that was...
And then what you're saying about, you know, oh, is she actually that laudable because she's lying to Ryan, etc., that then becomes a more valid discussion regarding, do you award the character with this award? Because really it's not Charlotte Jordan's fault that Daisy's, you know, being given this particular role to play in this storyline.
Yeah.
She's still performing it properly.
It.
She's still doing a fantastic... That's what I'm saying. I don't want somebody to lose out on an award because the character is being written in a way that might not appeal to the fan base.
I mean, that's the sort of thing that might have got in the way of lovely Georgia Taylor getting some awards last year after she callously murdered Imran.
It's very frustrating, and, you know, we always used to make fun because we started back in the days when we still had Sexiest Soap Star.
Yeah.
And that was always laughable, but in a way it was more honest, honestly. It was more honest because people were voting for what they saw with their eyeballs, and you can't really argue about the nuances of Sexiest Soap Star. I honestly think they only got rid of it because
it's not PC, is it?
No, because Tina McIntyre kept what's her name?
Michelle
Keegan kept winning it. Honestly, I don't think it would have really crossed many people's minds until I don't think it would be around now, but I think it would take longer to get rid of it if she hadn't just kept winning it all the time.
You might be right.
It just became laughable and so obvious that it was inappropriate because she won it so often.
What are your thoughts on the Max situation then? You feeling sorry for him? And
no, I feel sorry for him as I did before he got into prison. I feel sympathy.
I feel some level of sympathy in that he was groomed.
I feel like it's an unfortunate truth that people like to pretend is not real, that it's very easy for anybody to be radicalised about almost any subject. Whether it's immigrants or, you know, gay people or even being against religious people.
Yeah.
I think that it's very easy to put people in a big group of others and then say everything's their fault. And I think if we pretend that we're above it, that's when we start to repeat mistakes.
I'd quite like to see...
historically speaking. So I can empathise with Max, but also don't feel sorry for him that he's in prison, because that's where he should be.
I'd quite like to see Spider being involved in this somehow, and who knows where he is at the moment, because it's been months.
Sorry, who?
Spider, you know. Spider Nugent.
You also mentioned a woman called Toya a minute ago, and I'm not sure that is either.
Because they were obviously very close during the racism story, and Spider's, who knows what he's doing at the moment. I'd like to see maybe when Max comes out, if he's going to get this early release that they're teasing, could he kind of reconnect with him maybe? I'd rather it was Spider than Daniel, I think. I think the Max and Daniel, I've seen about enough of that. I do wonder whether Daniel's gonna end up losing his job over this as well.
He really deserves to.
Is he just in this teaching in this particular place because it facilitates the story in the same way that his last teaching job facilitated stories as well? Because they don't need to have him at work in a prison for, once there's no kids in the prison. But I suppose maybe Hope can come and take his place soon anyway. Okay, yeah, so let's move on. Time is ticking, and onto the Megabucks Fizz storyline, Gemma. What's been going on in the factory this week? Not much plotting from Stephen or murderous looks or anything, has there?
He might as well have gone to Las Vegas and enjoyed himself.
Might as well have done.
So on Monday, Beth is spreading gossip around the Knicker Stitchers that Stephen is looking angry on the phone in his office. So she tries to take him tea so she can overhear what he's talking about. And she hears him saying, outsourcing. So she scurries back and tells everybody that they're going to lose their jobs because the factory's going to be relocated somewhere cheaper.
Yeah, she's worried that the nipper snapper Knicker Stitchers are going to be sourced from elsewhere. So in the Rovers, not that they're Knicker Stitchers if they're nipper snapper.
Nipper snapper and
maybe
they're
t-shirts.
Snappers. Knicker snappers. That's illegal. And the Rovers later, Izzy, Sean...
Nipper snatchers. That's also
illegal.
Bad.
Yeah. Izzy, Sean and Beth are worrying about this. Owen comes into the pub. So this is the guy who Jenny fancied, that Stephen told her that he was a player who's also representing the American buyers for...
I was a little bit disappointed that this element of the story didn't really get much development this week. I'm not expecting. I'm not interested in Owen and Jenny together, but I'm interested in what Stephen's going to do about Owen and Jenny together.
I think he's done all he needs to. So Owen confirms that Stephen is going to outsource some of the work, but he can't really talk about it because he's there to talk to Jenny, and he asks her to go out for a meal later, and she says, "I don't think so, but I think you've got plenty of other options." So she's been rebuffed.
Yeah,
and I think that's
after what Stephen said
that.
to her about.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned it. Beth sees Stephen later. He says, "Yeah, we are outsourcing because there's so much work. There's too much for you guys to do. It's not a bad thing. It's brilliant.
This is the best line that Underworld has ever had."
Why are we a knicker factory? It turns out that making t-shirts is far more lucrative.
Yeah.
But also, okay, here's another thing that's stupid about this whole storyline, is that all they need to do is buy a t-shirt printing business, and Stephen McDonald had one of these in his garage when he was a teenager.
Well, no, it wasn't in the garage. It was in literally the same building. Done to a T was done where Underworld is now.
You don't need an entire factory of people making t-shirts to stamp a logo on the front of one. We can do it. We've done it. We've sold t-shirts. Well, we've given all t-shirts away. We don't have a knicker factory.
No.
There's literally no reason for them to manufacture the t-shirts as well, but we won't talk about that anymore because it's nonsense.
They're best not to think about it.
Don't think too hard. So, it turns out that Stephen's thinking about setting up a new unit in Norfolk. Where's Norfolk, everybody?
I hold my hands up, I had no idea where Norfolk is, but it turns out that it's in East Anglia.
If you think Norfolk is north, you're wrong. It's actually near Cambridge. It's right on the little bump.
Yeah, the little bump
on the right-hand side.
The right-hand side.
If you look at the map
or the east, as we say.
If you look at a map of the UK, it's on the little bumpy bit right near London.
Yeah, the top of the bump. I wouldn't have had a clue where to place Norfolk on the map. So
I knew it was near Cambridge.
Now I'm educated in that. But it's a long way away from Weatherfield. That's the most important thing.
And it's the other side of the country. It's not just down south, but it's also diagonal. It's the other side, because...
Almost couldn't get further away.
You could go to Lizard in Cornwall.
Okay.
Beth wants a word with Stephen and Sarah later because she wants to be the supervisor in Norfolk, so she's trying to pitch herself. And he's like, yeah, tell me later. And Fizz is listening in with interest, and they all talk about it. And then Fizz says to Beth, you need to think about this, because if you are worried about your relationship with Kirk, this could be the final nail in the coffin. All he does is mope, and he's clearly pining for you. So Stephen's listening in on this conversation. And then as everyone's leaving for lunch, Stephen calls her into his office and says, look, Beth, there's no way, she's not good enough to be a supervisor, but you are. I want to offer you the job. You're just the sort of person I need. And she says, I don't know, I've got my kids and everything. I've got a family. I can't just leave to go to Norfolk. And he says, what about for double the pay? And she says,
sign me up. Couldn't believe that's pretty good pay
rise,
isn't
money.
it?
I've got no
Double
idea.
the salary.
I've got no idea what she's on.
I think if anybody's salary was doubled, that's fairly life-changing.
Yeah, she's going to be on quite a lot of money now, I think.
Is this what is there a supervisor? It's like Sally the supervisor in Underworld.
I don't think they've got one. I think it's just chaos.
I can't remember because it was Hayley for a while and
she's dead
Ivy now. In the past also dead.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that it could be so lucrative.
Well, maybe we should be supervisors. Over in Norfolk.
Yeah.
Over dinner, Fizz tells Tyrone that she's been offered
Norfolk in where? That wasn't a swear.
No, it wasn't. It's just a funny.
Just said Norfolk.
Just actually probably a place. Over dinner, Fizz tells Tyrone the news, and he's chuffed until he realises that Norfolk's actually nowhere near where they are. And Fizz says, "It's okay, I'll just turn it down." But then
that was a really nice dinner scene. I loved Wednesday's episode. You weren't too fussed on it. I think you gave it a bog standard, but it was absolutely a banging for me because I thought that there was lots of nice kind of friend stuff. And although the way that Daisy's going about it with Ryan was completely not the right way, having those two just sitting, chatting as friends was lovely. This scene here with Fizz and Tyrone over dinner, husband and wife chat, lovely. There was a scene with Summer and Amy in the same episode and Summer's being all supportive of her and doing her makeup and everything. That friendship stuff is what Coronation Street has been lacking for many a year now, and I thought that it was all kind of condensed very nicely into Wednesday's episode, so just wanted to say well done to whoever wrote that one.
Stephen, meanwhile, is telling the factory girls that he's hired Fizz for this role, and Beth's like, "Oh, I didn't want a stupid job anyway," but I think that Fizz is a traitor, so she gets her nose put out of joint. Meanwhile, Fizz is telling Tyrone, actually, the money is double, and so that changes things for him. He thinks it's a good opportunity, and the girls could cope. They've done it before, so they decide to ask the girls what they think, and obviously the girls are like, go for it if we get more money, and Hope starts giving her a wish list of all the things that she wants her to buy. And I keep getting confused here because Fizz is not pregnant, but Jenny McAlpine is. And I kept thinking to myself, they're going to need this money when the baby comes. Idiot. No. On Friday, Kirk and Tyrone are chatting about the fact that Fizz is leaving. And Fizz is like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to wear. And Kirk says, don't worry, you'll be great. So she's gone on Friday. Fizz is left.
As is Coronation Street tradition, somebody decides that they're going to up and leave somewhere, and then within 48 hours, they're the other side of the country.
Evelyn,
with all they need in a little bag.
A little knapsack.
Yes.
Fizz, Evelyn encourages Kirk to write a poem to Beth to try to win her back.
Oh, yeah.
Why? I don't know.
Are they talking about... I can't remember. Wasn't there some poetry thing for Hope's
I don't care.
Homework? I don't remember.
But Kirk's the one that left Beth, so why is he writing a poem?
Well, he's clearly still pining after her, but he doesn't want to be the one that's... I guess partly he doesn't want to back down, as he was the one that stopped them from being together, but equally Beth is being pretty vile to him at the moment, and I think he possibly thinks if I try and make up with Beth, she's not going to want to give him the time of day.
So Tyrone gets back after taking Fizz to Norfolk. And she video calls him later and she says, oh, I've got a lovely place, I've got fields, there's a nice shower. And they give each other a virtual hug, and she starts to tell Tyrone what he needs to do for the girls, which I thought was great. Number one, it's a Friday, so good job tricking him on thinking that they have to go to school on a Saturday.
Yeah, if you thought about this for a little bit too long, which I obviously did, Eurovision is definitely happening on Coronation Street because they've mentioned it. So tomorrow is definitely Saturday in Coronation Street land, but apparently Hope has got a Victorian day at school. And is that a thing that happens in secondary schools? I'm not involved in secondary schools at all, but I don't think I ever had a themed day where I had to dress up as somebody in secondary school.
No, I don't think so. So they've got a list of things, and as you just gave away, Hope's got a Victorian day, and she wants... She wants
a dress with two papier-mâché heads on the shoulders, and I wondered whether this was a literary reference that Is
it Frankenstein?
I wasn't aware of. I don't know.
Mary Shelley?
I've got no idea.
So Evelyn's going to pick up a dress from the charity shop for him, but he's got to make this papier-mâché head, and Hope can't sleep, so she comes downstairs and gives him a hug, and he lets her go on her tablet, which obviously means that she's going to be staying up too late. And it's all starting to unravel very quickly without Fizz around.
It is a little bit, but I thought
the cooking and the cleaning and the organising of the.
I mean, Tyrone has coped before, like he said. I thought this was quite a nice ending because when she was smiling at the end, it didn't to me look like hope. It didn't feel to me like it was brilliant. I can wrap my dad around my little finger. I'm on my tablet at whatever o'clock at night. It just felt like because he gives her a big hug, doesn't he? And it just felt kind of sweet. So how does this compare? As a reason for Jenny McAlpine going on a maternity leave. So in the past we've had got to look after Scylla because she's got osteoporosis,
shot in a box.
And we've had got to go to Birmingham because there's a good school that will fix Hope, and now we've got supervisor position in Norfolk.
It doesn't feel realistic to me. It makes no sense whatsoever that you as a parent with 2 young children would go to live in Norfolk for double your salary, because unless they're throwing in a free apartment, all that money's going to be paid on rent and bills.
I've got a feeling that they did say that she was given that place to live. I think she does get to save the money, but I don't. I just. There's no way around it. They had to do it. Jenny couldn't be in the programme, although they could have done a bit of a Shona exit if she wanted to
had
go
a bit
away
more
for
of a discussion about it, and they could have said, well, why isn't Tyrone going?
But at the end of the day, she had to go. And I'm glad that it wasn't, sometimes when ladies go off on maternity leave, it's because the characters fall out, isn't it? And they,
Well,
and I'm glad they didn't have this. It's all kind of very...
We've made comments about people who've been incredibly notable by their absence over the past however much amount of time. And they very well could have gone off and had a baby. And no fanfare was made that they're not, where's Toya been? She's not off having a baby, is she? So
not as far as we know.
Why is she not in the show? They haven't said. They could have done this with Fizz.
Yeah, but I suppose there are with the story going on at the factory at the moment with Stephen and everything. If she wasn't in those scenes, that might be a little bit more like where's Fizz in all this?
Why would you? No, I don't agree.
And also, Hope's got her story with Sam and Eliza and everything, and
Fizz has not been a significant part of any of these stories. I don't know what you're talking about. Fizz has not been had a big role in Stephen's story. She hasn't had a big role in what's been going on with Hope and Sam and Eliza.
Yeah, but I honestly think that if she hadn't been there, it would have felt weird.
We might have noticed that she wasn't there, but we would have known that she's on maternity leave.
I think it's a bit sad that she's not going to be there for Chesney's wedding, because that's happening in 2 weeks, is it? I think. That
doesn't make any sense either.
No, exactly. So Chesney's wedding's going to be happening. Fizz isn't going to be there. Scylla's presumably not going to be there. Brother Billy, who knows where he is at the moment. So I feel kind of sorry for the guy that none of his immediate family are going to be there. Uncle Les isn't going to be there, is he?
It's an indication of the person that he's marrying.
Yeah, maybe.
They all object.
I don't know. I think Les Battersby might get on quite well with Gemma.
I
think
would love to watch them get together. Yeah.
I'm wondering every now and then. I'm thinking, when's Alina going to come back with Tyrone's baby? Is this going to be
honestly, it can't be. What will it be?
Either she's going to come in with Fizz away, and he's going to be like, he's going to have to deal with having this baby, toddler, I guess it'll be, dumped on him, and Fizz won't be there, and he'll be not telling Fizz about this over the video call.
Yeah.
Or, as part of her welcome back to Weatherfield Fizz party, maybe that's when Alina comes back saying, I got your little baby. Hello, Tyrone. Here is Tyrone Jr.
Well, I don't know, but...
Because there's nothing more cringy than finding out how they're going to write a character out for maternity leave. It's what's the storyline going to be that they come back into just to go, oh no, everything's going wrong, mule face t-shirts.
Oh no.
That's the one, isn't it?
Right, let's just make it clear that we have no idea whether Alina is even going to come back.
No, not got a clue.
Let alone if she...
It is that sword of Damocles, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Damon in the sack story.
Rolling in the hay.
Yes. So at the beginning of the week, Sarah and Adam are having thrilling conversations, I'm sure, about late night licensing. But also we get the impression that Adam is still very annoyed about Sarah objecting to the whole thing. So we're still like they're not great in their relationship. But
she doesn't live anywhere near the bistro to complain about it. It's like around the 2 corners.
She's thinking of her mum. Well, no, that's the thing. She really just wants Damon out of the way.
I know she does, but if I was Adam, I'd be really baffled by this because it doesn't affect her at all.
So Leanne and Sarah are talking about Damon in the bistro later, and they don't believe that he was mugged last week. There's something going on there. But then when he turns up, Sarah leaves, and Leanne tries to make it clear to him that you're not needed here, Damon. And he's like, oh, yes, I do. Look, you're out of the supplier later, aren't you? Who's going to look after the bistro there if I'm not here? And she's like, oh, yeah, good point. How have they managed to go all these years without somebody to look after the place when they go to the supplier? That's a bit convenient for him. But anyway, in the cafe later, Beth's gossiping about Damon's black eye. Dee Dee says, look, I'm not actually Damon's biggest fan, but by all accounts, he was defending someone and he put his life on the line. So actually, he's a stand-up bloke. Sarah goes back to the bistro later, and oh my gosh, I was not expecting this week. And I suppose it's natural that it's going to happen at some time, but for the last few weeks, she's been saying, no, Damon, we can't do this, Damon. It's not right, Damon. It was just a one-off, Damon. And she's been, twirling her hair and her eyelashes and everything. And we've been making more of a big thing about it on the podcast, saying, oh, yeah, she's gagging for it. But I was not expecting for her to just swan into the bistro. He puts his tongue down his throat. No, he puts his tongue down her throat, and for them to be rutting on the bistro counter by the end of the scene. She's like saying, oh, no, Damon, I've been cheated on before, I can't. Oh, wait, yes, I can. And yeah, they go off to the office for a romp. Were you actually expecting this to happen the way it did? I thought that she was just going to be like caught having a little snog or something. I didn't think that she'd be so stupid and horny that she would actually drop her knickers for him again. I thought, they were going to get caught out maybe talking about it, or maybe a kiss. But any sympathy or understanding or whatever you want to say that I may have had for Sarah, and there wasn't very much after what she did in the hotel, absolutely gone now. Has anybody got any sympathy for this girl now? Adam is just trying to work hard so that he can bring home a decent wage.
You take this so. I think it's really funny how personally you take this.
Well, no.
You know that you're not in danger of me doing this, don't you?
Of course I know that you're not going to be romping with the local drug dealer.
You don't need to sort of get extra mad at Sarah because she's doing it because Adam's working hard.
I just thought
because you work really hard, but I've got other things to do.
I just thought that Sarah would have more principles than this, honestly. So they get caught nearly, don't they? Because Leanne comes back. Leanne has to go back to the bistro later because I can't remember what was it. I'm just having a quick look at my notes here. The oven's packed up, so she has to go back. It doesn't matter anyway because by the time that Simon and David are having No, gosh, not Sarah and David. That's another story, isn't it?
Simon and David.
Simon and David are having a post-bonk getting dressed.
Why don't we just write that into Corrie as an idea?
Because it involves Simon, and who
He's
knows
right.
what he's doing.
He's
Alex
all
Payne
right.
back on social media this week after his little break. That's
Let's
some
go.
news for you.
Let's go.
So Damon and Sarah are getting dressed. They've done the deed, and they hear Nick and Leanne come back into the bistro and have a little bit of a panic. What are we going to do? Are we going to get caught? So Damon sort of takes the bull by the horns and goes into the main bit of the bistro and says, "Oh no, the building's so dangerous. Our oven's faulty. We need to leave. Everybody, out now, out now." And Dee Dee's there as well, and she sees Sarah Lou's bag on the chair. And I don't know where I kind of stand with Dee Dee at the moment, because on a way I'm thinking, oh, good for you for being loyal to your friend. Is she her friend, really? I don't know. And then the other one I'm saying, no, you bloody tell her. You drop her in it. What do you think? Do you think that she's doing the right thing, or should she...
I feel like she's caught up too much in the fact that she's already covered for her, and she's also trying to smooth things out. She's trying to not to rock the boat with Adam, because she wants to protect him as much as Sarah, I think.
And he's her boss.
And, yeah, exactly. She's been put in a really awkward position.
I would think that maybe Adam would understand. If I was Adam, I would want to know this.
I think she's too caught up in the fact she's already covered for her.
Again, I know, but I think that if I was Adam, if she said, "Look, it's true. I've known for a few weeks. I'm really sorry, but now I'm telling you," I'd be like, "Okay, I understand that it would be hard for you. Awkward position. Fine." I think that
if I was Dee Dee, I would What?
Yeah, I'm almost like looking down on Dee Dee for this.
Really, I just feel she's in an awkward position. If I was Dee Dee, but I would, she does need to go to Sarah and say, I've covered for you too many times. It's not my problem.
She kind of is a little bit later in the week, isn't she? I mean, she moves her bag. They go back out again. I wouldn't help her again. Sarah comes...
I'd let her explain it herself.
Sarah escapes once they're gone. So anyway, they're all back later. Sarah's left.
Because the thing is, Dee Dee's got nothing to do with Sarah.
Not really.
Why is she putting her neck out for Sarah? If it was my friend, I'd feel more obliged to help them.
Yeah.
But not some
as
random...
far as Dee Dee's concerned, she's woman. Just the strumpety wife of my boss.
I know. From Dee Dee's perspective, she would just think Sarah's always like this.
Yeah, exactly. It's not wrong. She is a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, they all go back. Leanne's definitely smelling a rat here. And speaking of rats, Damon and Sarah then meet in the ginnel a little bit later. And she's like, oh, I was so petrified when Adam came. Oh, I've got so much to lose. We can't go through this again. We need to quit while we're ahead.
It's so sexy, though.
Oh, yeah, really, really sexy. It made my heart race.
Damon, we can't. Oh, it's so good. Oh, but we can't do it anymore. But not today anyway.
Don't her and Adam end up bonking again at the end of the episode?
Every time she has sex with Damon, she has sex with Adam the same day because she's setting herself up for a Who's the Daddy storyline. Yeah. And last time we saw Sarah sleeping with two guys in the same day, they made a big fuss of the fact that she was on contraception, but this time they haven't, and it makes me wonder whether they made a big fuss of it the first time so that we would assume the same thing's happening this time, but actually, because we haven't seen it, we can't know for sure whether she...
I can't remember. Are they openly trying for a baby?
She said that she was.
Sarah and Adam. So I guess that she's not on the pill.
No.
But if he didn't put a condom on, yes, of course it's his responsibility.
Who?
But Damon's.
Right, okay.
But Sarah might have noticed and gone, oops, better get down to the clinic.
Well, I'm just... It just feels, again, it's another one of these, like, the writers made them do it because they want to have a storyline about who's got her pregnant.
I'm not enjoying it. Dee Dee comes
We'll have to wait till it's
Dee
born to see what the accent's going to be like.
Does it come out speaking Scottish?
If it comes out going all kind of
Dee Dee comes and tells Sarah about the bag later, and she says, look, I don't stop involving me in this, you're making me keep secrets. And Sarah's like, oh yeah, sorry about that. Dee Dee leaves and Adam comes back from the shop, and this is when she then drags him off to bed again. And then on Wednesday, Sarah sees Dee Dee in the cafe, and she says, oh yeah, there's nothing going on with Damon, honestly. I'm going to go and see him right now and tell him to stay away, in fact.
Stop trying to shag me, sexy
She
man.
tries to go and tell him at the bistro, stop it, but he's still not taking no for an answer. Damon, and goes in for a kiss again.
Damon, it's over between us. Damon, do you like my lip gloss?
I'll never believe her again. Damon, he stalks her down the street later.
No, don't, please.
I thought we were trying to finish this one quick.
I'm going this way, don't follow me.
Just go down this darkened alley.
Oh, you're so naughty.
Oh, my knickers have just dropped off. What should I do?
I need to get them stitched back together, but they're all making t-shirts.
Yeah, the knicker sewing machine is out of action at the moment.
Elastic's been repurposed.
Anyway, nothing really happens. They'll just kind of have a bump into each other, don't they? Damon, Sarah, Dee Dee, Adam, and...
Oh, don't bump into me again.
Dee Dee says, you clearly still fancy Damon, don't you, you little tart?
No, I don't. What about him do you think I fancy?
I want to know.
Lips,
I want to see whether Sarah is like
his sexy face.
Oh, are we done? Are we done with your Sarah Louise impression there? I want to. Is she thinking about young Harry during all of this? Because they've involved him in a couple of scenes recently, just to remind us that he exists, and there is a massive risk that she's. I don't know whether how much Harry considers Adam his dad. I suppose he would, because he's only 5 now, 6 maybe. I'm not sure. And so he
spent a lot of his young life with Adam as his father figure.
I can't remember whether he calls him Adam or whether he calls him Dad.
I don't have any personal experience of blended families, but in Coronation Street, on the whole, you get dumped like a hot brick if you're a kid in a blended family when the parents split up. Nobody makes an effort. The only person I can think of who ever has cared about the kids in a relationship that they've broken up from is Leanne with Simon.
Yeah. I was thinking that one as well.
But there are loads and loads of kids in families that were raised by somebody else because they were dating. I think it's a bit of a failing from Coronation Street. But when we're talking about Harry and Sarah with Damon's definitely demonstrated a lot more interest in young people than Adam ever has. Adam feels to me like he wants a kid with Sarah because he wants a legacy. He wants somebody to pass on the genes. He wants to say he's got kids. I think it's part of a status thing for him as much as anything else. I don't know if that's unfair, but I can't see that he's that interested in Harry.
It's kind of like father, like son, really, isn't it? Because Mike Baldwin wanted
a
kids
family.
with Susan, didn't he?
Didn't want children. He wanted to have an
heir to the great Baldwin empire.
But Damon, it hasn't been with Harry, but it was with Sam. He genuinely took an interest in Sam, and he cared about him, and he was worried about how his actions might affect him.
Yeah.
And I just don't think Adam's really ever even interacted that much with Harry. I think that if Damon and Sarah say they decided to, if the relationship with Adam broke up, I think that they would actually be better parents together for Harry than Adam and Sarah.
But I'm still really hoping that Damon doesn't stay in the show. I'm
Why?
not a fan. He just feels a bit icky and grubby, and gangsters like that don't, for me, belong as long-term characters on Corrie.
Is a proto Gary, where he is a rough guy who is doing bad things, but then there's always some kind of moral excuse for why it's not really that bad. And, your mileage may vary depending on maybe how handsome you find either one of them as to whether you're going to buy that excuse or not. But I think, Gary did some equally unforgivable things, but he's redeemed himself.
Yeah, but Gary's, right from the start, I think we were supposed to have some level of sympathy for him. And I don't...
Well, Gary's an interesting case, and he's been in the show a lot longer, isn't he? Because he started off as a wrong-un, then he redeemed himself, then he became a wrong-un again, and then he redeemed himself.
Yeah. Anyway, must move on. We got... Well, how long have we got until we need to leave the house? 25 minutes. And this still got to get uploaded. Right. Amy and Summer.
Right.
Let's have a summary.
Amy on Wednesday tells Summer and Ardy that Ezra is on her course, and she has the hots for him, and she wants to go for lunch with him. And Summer does Amy's makeup before this date, and she's trying to brush her hair, and she looks in the mirror and she's all worried. And Summer can see that she doesn't want to go on this date because Amy's worrying, oh, what if he tries to kiss me? What if I'm never ready? What shall I do? And Summer says, look, don't worry about it. We'll stay in. We'll watch some films. So, but then when I don't know who this is that goes outside, she sees in Victoria Gardens Aaron kissing somebody else, and they go back to number 7. And she's like, I should go and tell her. I should warn her, this girl, about Aaron. I need to. When am I going to be able to go back to normal? When is this going to end? I'm fed up with him and how much of a grip he's got on my life. So on Friday, Amy tells Summer about who she saw in the gardens, and she describes this girl, and someone says, oh, that sounds like Mia, who was his ex. So she shows Amy a picture, and Amy says, yeah, that's definitely the girl. And they think, well, we need to warn Mia and tell her what Aaron's really like. So Amy sends her a message. So meanwhile, Aaron's dad goes to the garage and he's like, guess what, you know my mum died and I'm over it. We got loads of money, the world's our oyster, we're rich. He leaves and Mia turns up to talk to Aaron. She says, I've got this weird message from this woman called Amy saying she wants to meet up with me. And he says, look, that's Summer's friend and probably just Summer's jealous of me and you together. Don't worry about it. And then Amy later realises that Mia's blocked her. So then we have, Amy and Summer wondering what's going on. Are they going to tell her?
Yeah.
They haven't warned her anything specific.
I don't know. Aaron made this terrible mistake with what happened at the party. I don't say that makes him, a serial rapist, or he's the sort of person that's likely to do it again. He's done it once. He realizes just what effect this has had. I wouldn't say that Mia is in any immediate danger.
Well, okay. Just because he did that thing, just because it wasn't consent, so it was rape. Just because he did that to Amy, I'm not going to say that it's clear that he's going to, or not, do the same thing again. But if he faces no consequences, I can't see why he would be. At the moment, in the situation that he's in now, he hasn't faced any negative consequences to the extent that I feel like he wouldn't do it again.
No, but because he's done it once, it doesn't mean that he's going to do it again.
Well, he's just as likely to do it to her as he was to do it to Amy.
And like everyone's saying, it's not in his personality. It's not his kind of character. I would hope that he wouldn't do it again, but I don't blame Amy and Summer at all for wanting to warn Mia about this. I was just thinking that if maybe there's going to be a storyline where he gets Mia pregnant, and then he's called the storyline Mamma Mia. I think that this thing with the windfall may be Aaron's exit ticket from Weatherfield, because everyone kind of, when we heard that Aaron was going to have this kind of role in the story, thinking, well, surely the writing's on the wall for that character there. They can't have a rapist stay on the street and be just kind of everybody's cool with it, or he's redeemed or whatever like this. This is surely an exit story for James Craven, but maybe he's not going to get found out, not found out, he's not going to be convicted because so few people are. So what's going to be the way that he leaves Weatherfield? Maybe this is it. Maybe, you know, he's got this money from Dad and he goes off, and that sounds like it's a happy ending for him. So something's got to happen that we know that he's going away with his, you know,
I don't know when. I literally
something.
have no information about whether he's leaving or not.
I know, I've got no idea. I'm just making the assumption that he is going to be leaving the programme.
Before we quickly
and
move
I think
on,
it's to do with this.
Yeah, me too. I think you're onto something. If he's going to leave, this is the how.
But you can't have a happy ending.
Would you like to know why I gasped?
Yes.
Because I've just he's probably aged out of this already. They're remaking Harry Potter, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Cedric Diggory.
Yeah.
I keep saying he looks like Robert Pattinson.
Oh.
He could be Cedric Diggory in the new Harry Potter if he leaves Coronation Street.
I think he's too old.
Yeah, I know.
He could, yeah. If they're going right back to the beginning, and Cedric Diggory,
it's going to take a while.
You know, Cedric Diggory doesn't come into
5
it until the
years,
fourth
probably.
book, so he's got to be 14, and I don't think he's going to look 14 when they're filming that.
I don't think Robert Pattinson looked 14. Though. They need to remake Twilight.
Right, finally we got old Paul.
Do you not think though it could be? It could definitely be Cedric Diggory.
We've called him this before. So Paul.
We haven't called him Cedric Diggory before.
Yes, I'm sure I have. I have.
I'm going to say I don't think Cedric Diggory was a rapist.
You never know, do you?
You don't know what happened.
He could have been if Voldemort hadn't, you know, spoiler alert, but this is a
no,
very
hang on,
old book.
We won't ruin it for anybody, but he doesn't live that long to go and do that kind of thing.
Anyway.
Certainly not in Harry Potter, but you know, when it is HBO...
Yes.
You know what they're like.
I don't know.
You get to see Hermione's boobs.
I don't know. Right, so... Paul's been to he's got his suit on, he's pretending that he's got a job interview, but actually he's going to his plea hearing where he pleads guilty, and he's going to get sentenced on the 26th of May, which is the week before Britain's Got Talent week, so it's maybe going to lead into something big happening the following week. I can't remember whether they said that Gemma's wedding is on that exact same day, or whether that's going to be at the beginning of Britain's Got Talent week, I don't know, but there's going to be some tragic crossover between them, I'm sure. He has to pretend that he didn't get the interview later on because there was no interview, and then he says he's gonna tell people. No, Dee Dee tells him he's gonna have to tell people about his MND, so he's got a chance of not being put in prison for Gemma's wedding. Friday, the story kind of moves more onto the wedding side of things, where she bursts into the factory with these big wedding dress ideas for Izzy. Gemma does. She's like, "Can you pinch some offcuts from the factory so you can make my dress?" And Izzy's like, "No, that's stealing. I would never do that. I've been in prison before. I can't go back again." She says, "Look, I'll see what I can do to help, though." So that's quite nice. And because they remind us all that in some way they're family. Everyone's really family on Coronation Street, aren't they? The amount of affairs and whatever they've had over the years, but the way they're linked is that Gemma's stepson Joseph, is that right? Gemma's stepson Joseph is nephew to
oh my god,
Izzy.
it's so
that's the
tenuous
family link. But anyway, that's why Izzy's making the dress, and that gets Gemma thinking about families and everything. And should we invite Linda to the wedding? Linda being Izzy's mum, who was in it last year, wealthy Portuguese, lives in Portugal, Linda, and so she invites her, and Bernie's not happy because last time she was here, old lady snob on a gob or whatever it was she called her, they didn't really, they didn't get on. they're a bit chalk and cheese-ish, aren't they? So that's potentially going to be quite fun on the wedding with those two at each other's throats. Although I would much prefer it if it was Scylla versus Bernie. But as I say, I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, watch this space really for that. It will be quite nice, hopefully, for Linda and Izzy to get some scenes together, because when Linda was in it last year, that was when Shirley Lee Houston still couldn't come into work. With all the health issues, so that could be nice, I suppose. The other thing in this part of the story was Izzy getting a bit worried because her mum's going to have to come and live with her, and she couldn't stand looking after her for 2 weeks, which is that says a lot, I guess, about the state of their relationship. 2 weeks with your mum who you haven't seen for donkey's years, and you're moaning about it.
I know.
Poor lady. Oh, will we get some more scenes in Izzy's flat, which we've not seen for a very long time? Who knows? Will Fergus be there? Maybe. But that's it. So that's this week's Coronation Street. Little bit, actually it wasn't that short at all really compared to most weeks, but we now have got half an hour until we need to leave the house.
Right,
so with that in mind, Gemma, do you have a character of the week and a score for us?
I haven't thought of character of the week, but I think it's a standard 3 out of 5. Devs, Kevs.
Deeves, Keeves.
Deeves, Keeves. Devs, Kievs. Yeah, I'm giving it 3 out of 5.
I'm going to go, just because I liked Wednesday's episode more, I'm going to go for 3.5 hobbits in Ryan's bloodline out of 5. I think I might give it to Jenny. Really?
Yeah, because I loved her enthusiasm for the coronation. I loved her salute to the dead queen. I liked her crying when she saw Ryan coming in. I want more Jenny. It reminded me on Monday how much I love community events on Coronation Street, and I saw everybody getting ready and telling Evelyn off for scoffing all the stuff at the buffet. I just love it. I like the fact that Jenny is the landlady, but I want the Rovers to be more the heart of the show as it has been in olden times. So seeing Jenny back as the queen of the street, loved it.
I mean, it feels
Does
to
that
me
make her
like
Camilla?
feels to me like Ryan is a bit of a shoe-in for this one. I kind of like to give it to Daisy because even though, like I said, she was doing the wrong thing, her heart was in the right place. I'm gonna defend her and say this, but I won't give it to her because I feel that would be going against the grain. And Ryan has been excellent this week as well. I just feel mega sorry for him, and trying to steel himself up to going outside in the scene where it took a lot of guts for him to go into the Rovers, didn't it, with his hood down and everything. And it was lovely to see him being welcomed into the bosom of the community. I like Debbie's bullseye that she got. That was quite a funny moment, wasn't she? Where she was getting ready to throw the dart and she sees Ryan come in and goes, "Oh my gosh!" And it turns out that it goes in the bullseye. But no, Debbie was quite good, but yeah, maybe a little bit obvious. Can't give it to Daniel, although his heart is also in the right place. He's being very unprofessional. So yeah, Ryan it is, I think.
Ryan and Jenny.
Congrats.